Good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m. My name is Felicia Orth. I'm a hearing officer appointed by the Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department to conduct this hearing, which concerns proposed rulemaking by the State Parks Division, making amendments to sections 18.17.2, 19.5.1, 19.5.2, and 19.5.6, all of these sections in the New Mexico Administrative Code. We will be hearing from the division concerning their proposal. I will ask if anyone has questions related to the testimony, and I will accept any public comments there are to be given. No decisions will be made on this rulemaking proposal today. Written public comments may be submitted to the division until 5 o'clock today. The division will then go back to finalize the rules, and they will be appropriately published in the New Mexico Register, among other places. So let's, the hearing is on a virtual platform and in person here at Porter Hall, and a recording is being made of it. You can certainly seek additional information on the State Parks Division webpage. So let's settle in. We have a nice, informative, very detailed presentation by division staff this morning. Mr. Wade, would you like to introduce Mr. Longeneger?
Yeah, thank you and good morning. The witness for the New Mexico State Parks who will discuss the proposed rulemakings is Jared Langenegger. Mr. Langenegger is currently the Chief of Field Operations for the State Parks, and he has over 16 years of experience with the State Parks. Mr. Langenegger will provide his testimony with a presentation. We ask that that presentation be included as written testimony for the record. And with that, I would call Mr. Jared Langenegger.
Thank you very much. Mr. Langenegger.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. My name is Jared Langenegger. I am the Chief of Operations for the New Mexico State Parks Division. I've served in this position for the past 2 years. Prior to becoming a Field Operations Bureau Chief, I served as a Region Manager for the division for 13 years and a Park Manager for 2 years. I'm here today to discuss our proposed rule changes related to our fees in New Mexico State Parks. The division published notice for this rulemaking on July 30th, 2024 in the New Mexico Register. In addition, the division met all posting and notification requirements for this rule change, including publication of the notice in the Albuquerque Journal, posting the notice on the division website along with the draft rule and technical resources, emailing the notice to individuals on the division's email list. We sent the notice to the Legislative Counsel Service, posted the notice at all division and park and region offices, posted the notice on the main door of the division Santa Fe office, posted the notice on the Sunshine portal, and sent the notice to the Economic Development Department small business for distribution to the Small Business Regulatory Advisory Commission. We did not receive any comments on this proposal from the commission. While no one likes to see fees for services increase, we all realize that over time, costs for services go up. The last significant fee increase for New Mexico State Parks occurred in 2004 when our day use fees went from $4 per vehicle to $5 per vehicle. Our camping fees were last increased in 1998, and our boat registration fees were last changed in 1984. While we've made multiple attempts over the years to increase our fees, we have not gained administrative support for these efforts until the last year. To begin the process, we completed an assessment of our fees through a comprehensive fee study completed in July of 2023. Based on our findings, we began development of a rule change and a fee increase that we brought to the public in February of this year. Throughout this process, we've been asked why we need to adjust our state park fees. First, New Mexico State Parks is set up as an enterprise agency. we're expected to self-generate revenue to offset operational costs. In addition, our state parks are vulnerable to many factors, including climate change, economic conditions, and natural disasters such as wildfire and drought. Any of these factors can have a serious impact on our visitation and revenue and impact operations. When state revenues are decreasing, recreation is often thought of as a non-essential service. This means the focus is on maintaining budgets for essential services such as law enforcement, education, and healthcare. And while our operating costs are increasing, our operational budgets have been mostly flat for the last 15 years, leading to reduced services as we deal with these challenges. As mentioned, State Parks is an enterprise agency. The fees we charge provide critical funding to the operation of parks. These fees are set up so we have a user pay, user benefit system, ensuring the people that utilize our recreational facilities pay to maintain those facilities. When you look at State Parks' operating budget over the years, you can see that we consistently receive approximately 25 to 30% of our budget from the general fund, while the remaining 70 to 75% of our budget is self-generated revenue and federal grants. Of course, as our visitation fluctuates, so does our revenue. You can see by this chart that our visitation and revenue took a significant hit during the pandemic, but have since rebounded, seeing over 5 million visitors per year post-pandemic. As you would expect, our visitation is seasonal. Most visitors are in the parks during the summer months from May through September. When looking at State Parks' operating budget over the last 15 years, it has remained mostly flat since 2010. Our operating budget in fiscal year 2010 was just over $29 million, and in fiscal year 2024, our operating budget was just under $29 million, meaning we remained flat or less than flat for nearly 15 years. In that time period, we've added Pecos Canyon State Park, Cerrillos Hills State Park, and Mesilla Valley Bosque State Park. While we were fortunate to see an increase in our budget from FY24 to 25 to put us at just under 31 million, we're still well behind where we need to be. With the current FY25 personnel budget, we do not have enough funding to fill all of our positions. Our current budget for personnel is just over 16.5 million. To fill all of our positions across the state, we would need closer to 20 million in personnel budget. This does not account for the additional positions needed at parks where we have limited personnel currently. For example, Cerrillos Hills State Park is currently operated with 1 FTE 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The best way we can improve our fiscal position and resiliency as an agency is to bring in additional revenue. To ensure we were charging adequate fees, we completed a fee study in 2023. This study ran from January through July, and in this study, we compared our fees to surrounding state park systems. We also evaluated our fees based on inflation, and based on our review, we found New Mexico state parks were substantially behind surrounding states as well as behind inflation. In the study, several recommendations were made, including implementing free day use for New Mexico residents, increasing day use fees for non-residents to $10 per vehicle, eliminating the differentiation in primitive and developed camping, setting our camping fees at $20 per night for all camping sites, setting our utility fees at $10 per night for each utility, including electric, water, and sewer, eliminating our annual pass program, increasing entrance fees at Living Desert Zoo and Gardens and Smoky Bear Historical Park, increasing boat registration fees, adding a non-motorized vessel launch fee, and adding a per-use fee to our RV waste dump stations. Relying on our fee study, we developed the initial proposals shown here, which were later modified. Based on our initial estimates, we expected to generate an additional $5.4 million in revenue. With this proposal, we developed a rule change and began a public input process. We published the notice of proposed rule change in February 2024 and conducted public informational meetings across the state and virtually to gather public input and better inform our decisions. We conducted 12 informational meetings, both in person and virtually across the state. And in these meetings, we had over 400 participants and collected over 900 written comments related to our proposals. We compiled the comments received based on their opposition to each proposal. The area that received the most opposition was the elimination of our annual permits. 40% of the responses indicated they were opposed to elimination of our senior and disabled annual camping permit. 33% of the responses were opposed to elimination of our resident annual camping permit. 29% of the responses were opposed to elimination of the non-resident annual camping permit, and 23% of the responses were opposed to elimination of the annual day use pass. Another large area of opposition was related to our proposal for free day use for New Mexico residents. Approximately 19% of the respondents were opposed to this proposal. We also had several shared concerns among the responses received, including a concern that elimination of annual passes hurts families and retirees. There was a feeling that these passes and permits are necessary to provide affordable recreation for families as well as for individuals on fixed incomes. There was a general feeling among the public and our staff that elimination of day use fees would lead to overcrowding and resource abuse. Many of our parks already have overcrowding issues. Many people felt that camping at primitive sites with no facilities should not cost the same as camping at developed sites with grills, tables, and shelters. There was a concern that eliminating annual passes makes visiting parks inconvenient. With the annual pass, you can come and go as you please. Without an annual pass, you have to check in each time you enter the park. There was a concern that New Mexico is a poor state and that increasing fees hurts people on fixed incomes. Along those lines, there was a general feeling that our comparison of New Mexico state park fees to surrounding state park fees who are economically better off than New Mexico may have skewed our results in our study. There were also general statements indicating that we need to improve facilities and staffing before raising fees and that we should consider dynamic pricing. Based on the comments we received, we went back to the drawing board and reconsidered our initial proposal. We gathered additional information to compare our fees to states that are in similar economic situations, including Arkansas, West Virginia, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Louisiana, all of which have similar median incomes and poverty rates compared to New Mexico. We incorporated the comments received and the data collected and made the decision to compromise on the elimination of the day use fee for residents by making the fee applicable during peak visitation season, but free in the off-season. We maintained the differentiation between primitive and developed camping. We maintained annual passes and permits with some modifications to the process. For example, we'll be changing the term of the annual passes to match the calendar year for easier tracking and consistent expiration dates. We're proposing reducing the stay limit during our peak season to ensure that individuals with annual permits do not monopolize prime sites. And we're working with our reservation contractors for better verification practices for permits. We added differentiated fees for residents and non-residents, and we eliminated the proposed non-motorized vessel launch fee and reduced proposed vessel registration fees on the most registered classes of boats. When looking at our revised proposal for entrance and camping fees, we differentiated between resident and non-resident fees, offering a benefit to New Mexico residents. Our proposal is to charge a $5 day use fee to New Mexico residents during our peak season from May through September, and a $10 day use fee to non-residents year-round. Our primitive camping proposal is $10 per night for residents, only a $2 increase from our previous fee, and $15 per night for non-residents. Our developed camping proposal is $15 per night for residents, only a $5 increase from our current fees, and $20 per night for non-residents. We're proposing a $5 water fee, a $10 electric fee, and a $5 sewer fee. We're also proposing a $10 dump station fee for individuals not camping in the park, so visitors just coming into the park to dump their waste tanks. We're maintaining our recommendations for entrance fees at Living Desert Zoo and Gardens and Smoky Bear Historical Park and the Rio Grande Nature Center. We've decided to maintain annual passes and permits, but to increase the price for these passes. The proposal is to have the annual day use pass for residents set to $75 per year and for non-residents set to $150, which translates to 15 visits at the daily rate. The annual camping permit for residents would increase to $300 per year, which equates to 20 nights of developed camping. It would be $600 per year for non-residents, which equates to 30 nights of developed camping, and $150 per year for seniors and people with disabilities, which equates to 10 nights of developed camping. Also, based on significant public comment and the desire to improve services for our military and veteran populations, we're adding an annual camping permit for New Mexico military and veteran personnel at $150 per year. For our boat registrations, we decreased our proposal for the two most popular classes of boats. We're proposing a $60 registration fee for Class A vessels every 3 years and a $75 registration fee for Class 1 vessels every 3 years. This registration fee is less than what people would pay to register an ATV or a UTV in the state. We maintained our proposals for registration fees on Class 2 and larger vessels. Based on these changes, our estimates show a potential increase in revenue of about $4.8 million. Now, throughout this process, we've heard from people that the increase being proposed was too big of a jump. Obviously, when you're dealing with 25 to 40 years of inflation, that's a big increase. To avoid this in the future, we added language to the rule proposal that would require New Mexico State Parks to evaluate our fees every 5 years based off of inflation data and make adjustments as necessary. This will allow for changes to be made in smaller increments. After revising our proposal, we went back and compared the cost of a pool hookup campsite to 9 other states, including states that are similar economically to New Mexico. This comparison shows our proposed rates fall well below those of surrounding states and maintain affordability for New Mexico State Parks campsites. We took this revised proposal back to the public through a series of 5 informational meetings. We held meetings in locations where we received the most input initially. These meetings were held in Truth or Consequences, Albuquerque, and Navajo Lake State Park, in Tucumcari, and virtually. At these meetings, we received mostly positive feedback. The comments that we've received to date on the proposal include people that are pleased with the decision to maintain the annual passes and maintain the differentiation between primitive and developed camping. Many people were pleased that their input was taken into consideration in development of the rule. We did have some areas of concern that have been brought to us, including the differentiated fees for non-resident, the increase in the non-resident annual camping permit fee, and our reduced stay limits. Our current timeline for implementation has our public input period concluding today with this hearing. After this hearing, we'll make a determination on rule adoption, and after our rule adoption, we'll work to share these changes with the public through marketing and media. Implementation of revised fees is scheduled for January 1st, 2025. We've worked diligently to include the public and gather their input to inform our decisions throughout this process. I believe we've developed a proposal that is widely supported. Implementing these changes will help support state parks operations moving forward and will help the division remain resilient. It will still be critical to maintain funding from the legislature as we continue to expand services, however. The rule revisions that will support amending our fees include replacing 18.17.2 NMAC, boating operation and safety. This was misidentified as an amendment in our proposal. However, after discussion with State Record Center and Archives, it will be filed as a replacement. Replacing 19.5.1 NMAC general provisions, amending 19.5.2 NMAC visitor provisions, and amending 19.5.6 NMAC fees. In the replacement of 18.17.2, we added definitions for human-powered watercraft and paddlecraft under 18.17.2.7 definitions. We increased registration fees under 18.17.2.8 registration, and we changed language requiring users of human-powered watercraft to wear personal flotation devices and include human-powered watercraft in vessels that are not required to have a bailing bucket, bilge pump, or any length of stout rope under 18.17.2.9 equipment required to operate a vessel. The definitions added in 18.17.2.7 include human-powered watercraft and paddlecraft. The creation of these definitions allows for clarification of which vessels require the use of personal flotation devices and are required to maintain certain equipment on the vessel. The changes in 1817-8 registration increase registration fees for vessels based on recommendations outlined in the New Mexico State Parks fee study. Vessel registration fees support operation of the boating program, which allows for enforcement of the Boat Act. These fees are used as match for a federal grant provided by the U.S. Coast Guard for boating safety. Vessel registration fees have not increased since 1984 and are significantly below surrounding states. The changes to 1817-9A, equipment required to operate a vessel, make it so all persons using human-powered watercraft are required to wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved personal flotation device. The previous requirement was too specific and did not cover all human-powered watercraft. Adding this requirement will increase the safety of visitors using human-powered watercraft on the waters of the state. The changes to other equipment allows for people using human-powered watercraft to be exempt from the requirement to have a bailing bucket, bilge pump, or any length of stout rope. This change makes the rule consistent for all human-powered watercraft. In replacing 1951, we added a definition for resident. 19517 KK creates a definition for resident. Through the rule revision process, the division is proposing to amend 1952 and 1956 to have differentiated fees for non-residents of the state. With the change in the fee structure, there needs to be a definition of resident added to the rule. In our amendment of 1952, we corrected spelling and grammatical errors throughout the rule. We clarified that visitors shall pay required day use fees upon entering the park. We clarified checkout times for campsites. We included Cerrillos Hills State Park as a park that does not allow camping. We amended stay limits in parks based on the time of year, clarified designation of ADA sites, changed the amount of time a trailer, boat, or vessel not attached to a vehicle may be left in parking areas or turnouts, clarified official use of off-highway motor vehicles and golf cars in state parks by the division and other government agencies, allowed for the use of off-highway motor vehicles by concessionaires in certain areas where permitted by the superintendent, removed the allowance for off-highway motor vehicles to be used within parks for ice fishing, removed gender-specific language, changed references of tape record to audio record, removed the exception for fees for persons who are entering Conscious Lake State Park to access the concessionaire, amended language regarding fee waivers or reductions for primary or secondary school groups or college or university groups to include other organized youth groups, exempted New Mexico residents from purchasing day use permits from October 1st through April 30th annually, clarified that visitors shall purchase camping permits to camp in parks, added an annual camping permit for New Mexico resident active duty military or honorably discharged veterans, amended the expiration dates for annual passes to make them valid from January 1st through December 31st of each year, and allowing for permits for the next calendar year to be sold beginning July 1st of each year, amended requirements for replacement of annual camping permits to require a proof of purchase, and amended language for foster family free access to parks to match language in House Bill 35 from the 2023 legislative session. The changes made to 1952-10 hours are non-substantive changes to grammatical errors, to correct grammatical errors. For 1952-11 day use, the division amends subsection A of 1952-11 to require that visitors shall pay required day use fees upon entering the park. This clarifies that all users of the park are required to pay appropriate fees. The division amended subsection A of 1952-12 to correct grammatical errors, to allow for campsite checkout times to be flexible, and to add Cerrillos Hills State Park to the list of parks where camping is unavailable. Cerrillos Hills State Park is a day-use only park that was established in 2009, but not included on the list of parks where camping is not available under subsection A of 1952-12. The addition of language to allow posting alternative times for vacating a campsite allows for adaptive management throughout the state park system, especially for parks where staffing requires additional time for cleaning and maintaining sites. The division amends subsection C of 19.5.2.12 to correct grammatical errors in the text. And we amended subsection E of 19.5.2.12 to reduce the maximum stay limit during the peak season from May 1st through September 30th. The change allows campers to reside in a park for a maximum of 7 days out of any 20 calendar day period from May 1st through September 30th, and maintains the maximum 14-day out of any 20 calendar day stay limit from October 1st through April 30th. This reduction in stay limit during the peak season allows for more rotation of campers in busy parks, making sites more available to more people. The division amends subsection I of 19.5.2.12 to reduce the maximum stay limit for anchored boats or vessels to match the maximum stay limit proposed in subsection E of 19.5.2.12. The division amends subsection J of 19.5.2.12 to correct grammatical errors in the text. We amended subsection D of 19.5.2.13 to indicate that sites with developed and designated special accessible facilities for the use of individuals with disabilities will be marked with standard ADA signage. This ensures that sites are designated for ADA priority and increases accessibility for persons with disabilities. We amended subsection A of 19.5.2.14 to reduce the time where a visitor may leave a trailer, boat, or vessel that is not attached to a vehicle in parking areas or parking turnouts from 72 to 24 hours. This reduction in time is necessary to ensure that visitors are not blocking off parking areas and reducing availability of parking for other users. We amended subsection A of 19.5.2.16 to correct grammatical errors in the text and delete the reference to subsection F of 19.5.2.16. The division is deleting subsection F of 19.5.2.16 in this rules revision. We amended subsection B of 19.5.2.16 to clarify when off-highway motor vehicles and golf cars may be used for official purposes. This change includes the allowance for other governmental agencies or employees to operate off-highway motor vehicles and golf cars within state parks while performing official duties. The division amends subsection C of 19.5.2.16 to include the use of off-highway motor vehicles by concessionaires within certain areas of state parks, subject to a superintendent's approval. We deleted subsection F of 19.5.2.16. This section allowed for the use of off-highway motor vehicles within state parks limited to the surface of the ice and in designated boat launch areas. The only designated boat launch area in the system that allowed for use of off-highway motor vehicles was Eagle Nest Lake State Park. Eagle Nest Lake regularly develops ice pressure ridges, which create hazardous conditions for off-highway motor vehicle operation. The division no longer wishes to allow for the use of off-highway motor vehicles on the ice surface due to the unpredictability of the ice and safety concerns. The division amended subsection A and B of 19.5.2.25 to correct spelling errors in the text. We amended subsection E4 of 19.5.2.27 to remove gender-specific language. We amended subsection E5 of 19.5.2.27 to change the requirement for a tape record to an audio record, as the use of tape recording is no longer the standard. We amended subsection B of 19.5.2.32 to correct grammatical errors in the text. We amended subsection C of 19.5.2.32 to delete the exception for persons who are entering Conscious Lake State Park to access the concessionaire. The concession operation at that park was closed, and there is no longer a concession there, and this exception is no longer needed. We amended subsection E of 19.5.2.32 to correct grammatical errors in the text and include other organized youth groups as groups that may receive waived or reduced park fees. The expansion of the allowance for fee waivers serves to introduce more individuals to parks and provide promotional opportunities to increase interest in parks and develop long-term repeat visitors. We amended 19.5233 to correct spelling errors. We amended subsection A of 19.5234 to correct grammatical errors and to indicate that New Mexico residents are exempt from purchasing day use permits from October 1st through April 30th annually. The waiver of day use fees for New Mexico residents was a key point of the fee study. After public input and discussion, it was determined that waiving day use fees for New Mexico residents should only occur during the off-season to avoid overcrowding and resource issues in parks. We amended subsection B of 19.5234 to require that visitors purchasing camping permits We amended subsection B of 19.5234 to require that visitors purchase camping permits to camp in a park and to correct grammatical errors. The addition of language requiring the purchase of camping permits clarifies the requirements for camping in state parks. We amended subsection B 2D of 19.5235, adding a New Mexico resident active duty or veteran annual camping permit. During our public information sessions, the division received several comments indicating the public's desire to see more opportunities for veterans and military personnel to receive discounts on camping. The addition of this pass allows for New Mexico active duty military personnel and New Mexico veterans to purchase an annual camping permit at a discounted rate. We amended subsection B 2E of 19.5235 to correct numbering after adding the previous subsection. The division amends subsection C of 19.5235 to make annual passes valid from January 1st through December 31st annually rather than 12 months from the date of purchase, standardizing the expiration date for all passes and making the pass term consistent enhances the division's ability to track passes and prevent fraudulent use of passes. The division amended subsection D of 19.5235 to require proof of purchase for replacing annual camping permits. Currently, there's no requirement for a proof of purchase to be presented to receive a discounted replacement pass. Implementing this requirement will help prevent fraudulent purchases of replacement annual camping permits. We amended 19.5238 to add language for foster family free access to parks to match the language in House Bill 35 from the 2023 legislative session. We amended subsection G of 19.5239 to correct grammatical errors in the text. And we amended subsection A of 19.5242 to correct spelling errors in the text. In our amendment for 19.56, we changed fees for day use and camping permits, added a parking fee to the Rio Grande Nature Center State Park, increased entrance fees at Living Desert Zoo and Gardens and Smoky Bear Historical Park, increased utility fees, added an RV dump station use fee, added a water fee, and removed outdated wording. We increased special use permit fees, added a short-term concession permit, eliminated wildlife blind fees, and most importantly, implemented a regular review of fees based off the Chained Consumer Price Index for urban consumers. We amended subsection A of 19.568 to implement differentiated day use fees for New Mexico residents and non-residents, to make school bus fees applicable to non-residents only, and to implement a dump station fee for visitors not camping in the park. These changes are based off recommendations in the fees study completed by the division in July of 2023, as well as public input received during our public comment period. We amended subsection B of 19.568 to remove the day use fees at Rio Grande Nature Center State Park and replace them with parking fees. We made the parking fee for school buses applicable to non-residents only, increased entrance fees to Living Desert Zoo and Garden State Park and Smoky Bear Historical Park, and added an entry fee classification of senior to the Smoky Bear Historical Park fee structure. These changes again were based on our fee study as well as public input. We amended 19569 NMAC to provide for differentiated fees for New Mexico residents and non-residents, to increase the fees for primitive and developed camping, to implement fees for water hookups, and to increase our fees for electric and sewer hookups. We amended 19510 to provide for differentiated fees for New Mexico residents and non-residents for annual day use passes, and to increase the fees charged for those passes. After review of public comments received, it was shown there was a strong demand for annual day use passes to be maintained. We amended 19561 to increase the fees charged for annual camping permits and to provide for the addition of annual camping permits for New Mexico active duty military personnel or honorably discharged veterans. Again, these are based off of public comments that we received. We amended a 19561 to increase the cost of a replacement annual camping permit. And we amended 19561 to delete outdated language. This language is in many of these sections, and it references fees prior to December 1st, 2018, and it's no longer relevant. In 1956115, we amended this to change the fee from $15 for our special use permit to $30 based on recommendations from our fee study. We amended 19516 to add a short-term concession permit. The division receives regular requests for short-term concession permits. By adding a short-term concession permit, we're expanding concession opportunities in parks and potentially increasing revenue generated within the parks. We amended subsection A of 19561 to delete outdated language, again, language referencing fees prior to 2018. We amended subsection B of 19561 to delete the same outdated language. We amended subsection C of 19561 to delete the same outdated language referencing fees from 2018. We amended subsection F of 19561 to delete wildlife blinds rental fees and renumber the following sections. Currently, the division does not charge for the use of our wildlife blinds, and we have no plans to implement charges for those. We added 19561 to require the division to review the fees in 19561 every 5 years and provide the opportunity to amend fees to reflect inflation as evidenced in the Chain Consumer Price Index for urban consumers. The addition of a requirement to review fees on a regular basis eliminates stagnation in the fee structure and avoids large fee increases in future years. Madam Examiner, this concludes my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Longenegger. Let me ask if there's anyone in the room who has a question based on Mr. Longenegger's testimony. No? Let me ask if there's anyone who would like to offer public comment. Ma'am and sir, please come up to this center microphone. You can sit or stand as you are comfortable. And if you would give us your name first and spell it.
Good morning. My name is Christy Tafoya, CHRISTY Tafoya. I'm a resident of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I worked for 23 years at New Mexico State Parks, retiring as the director a few years back. I stand in strong support of these rules changes, as New Mexico state parks are an important part of the fabric of our state, protecting amazing cultural and natural resources, providing recreational opportunities for our citizens, and providing economic support for our communities. I feel that these rules changes have undergone a lot of thought, a lot of amazing input from across the state. The fact that the New Mexico State Park staff have not just had listening sessions, but have really taken into account all of those comments and really incorporated those comments into these rules changes, I think is incredible. And I really commend Director Velasquez, Jared Langenegger, and State Park staff for all of the great work that they've done. And I stand in strong support of these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyan. Sir?
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. My name is Patrick Killen, Patrick Killen. And I live in Albuquerque. I also have the privilege of having served on the New Mexico State Parks Advisory Board since October of 2017. I'm currently the only member of the board who has served not only in Governor Lujan Grisham's administration, but also served previously in Governor Susana Martinez's administration, and have had the privilege to work closely with both Director Velasquez in the current administration and Director Tafoya in the last, both the current administration and the previous administration, and have seen just an incredible amount of hard work and effort that has gone into this process, not just during this rulemaking, but in the years leading up to it. The staff at state parks have been extremely thoughtful in developing the proposed fee structure and proposed rules that are before us today. So much time and effort and data and analysis have gone into this process and to bring us to where we are at today. So I just wanted to stand and strongly support the proposed changes today, and to also express my appreciation to the members of both state parks and the Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department more broadly that have worked on this effort. It's I think, a collective success, and I'm eager to see these changes implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Killen. Is there anyone else who would like to offer public comment? Please come up.
Hey, good morning. I'm Sarah Wood, SARAHWOOD. And I too have worked for state parks for 17 years, mostly in the parks. I strongly support this fee change. They did an incredible amount of work. As an enterprise agency, they are authorized to make these changes. And I especially hope that it helps staff in the field, because guess who makes up for being underfunded? It's those people on the ground who work overtime, who often use their own resources to make the parks work and serve the public. So I strongly support this fee change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wood. Is there anyone else? Sir?
My name's John Castillo, JOHNCASTILLO. And I think it's been really unfortunate that fees have taken so long to be increased, and I think they do need to be increased. The one area that I'm disappointed with, in a sense, and been a native New Mexican, so I understand, trying to get things for free. But as I understand, the proposal was primarily to make sure that New Mexico parks had the revenue in order to justify the improvements. And I'm a regular use of the state park fees, and you might think that maybe I would like things to be free, But I think putting a burden on campers and others and trying to give more than half a year to day use is unreasonable. I think the day use should be across for the entire year. That I think maybe they should have on occasion, maybe once a month, maybe more often, a free day, and allow residents to go out there, but allowing residents for 7 months or more to use the campsites for free. I think, the resources are there during those 7 months, and they still have to clean up after day use individuals and all the others. And I think allowing maybe a few days a year or a few days, even a couple of days a month or something like that would give the opportunity. I know there seems to be a strong desire to have people do that, but I just think that they need to reconsider the day use passes. That, I know there was a concern about the making sure that people had an opportunity. I still don't think that, $5 keeping the fee at a lower rate is not really something that prohibits people from going to the state parks. But, and I think, like I said, having, you could distribute it on weekends or during the week to give people a variety of days off. But 7 months, I think, is just not appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Sir.
Good morning. Toby Velasquez, Toby, V as in Victor, ELAS, QUEZ. I'm the current director of the New Mexico State Parks Division. I have a written statement that I want to read into the record. Established in 1933, the New Mexico State Parks Division has grown into a 35 park system that includes 19 lakes and nearly 190,000 surface acres of land and water. Our mission is to protect and enhance natural and cultural resources, provide first-class recreational and education facilities and opportunities, and promote public safety to benefit and enrich the lives of visitors. Your state parks can be found in 25 of New Mexico's 33 counties, where outdoor recreation is a driving force in New Mexico. State Parks is an enterprise agency that is expected to self-generate 75% of its annual operating budget. Raising state park fees in New Mexico after decades without increases will have several positive impacts for the public, our agency, and the state of New Mexico. The proposed fees increase will improve our agency's ability to sustain operations. Increased fees can help cover rising operational costs, ensuring that parks remain well-maintained and staffed. This is vital for preserving natural resources and enhancing visitor experiences. To invest in infrastructure improvements. Additional revenue can be allocated for updating facilities, trails, and amenities, making parks more enjoyable and accessible for everyone. To support conservation efforts. Funds can be directed towards conservation programs, helping to protect wildlife and natural habitats, which is especially important as environmental challenges grow. To improve the visitor experience. With more resources, the agency can invest in educational programs, guided tours, and improve visitor services, enriching the overall experience for all park goers. To bolster economic impacts. Healthy state parks can boost local economies through increased tourism, attracting visitors who spend money in nearby communities and across state lines. To support long-term planning. A fee increase can provide a stable financial foundation for future projects, allowing our agency to plan more effectively as we complete our 91st year and look forward to our centennial. To support cultural and historical preservation. As the centennial approaches, funds can support efforts to celebrate and preserve the cultural and historical significance of your New Mexico State Parks. And to improve community engagement. By communicating the need for fee increases and their intended use, we fostered a sense of community involvement and stewardship. Furthermore, throughout the rulemaking process, the State Parks Division demonstrated what all state agencies should strive for when engaging the rulemaking process. We did this by ensuring public engagement. Involving the public in the rulemaking process fostered community participation and ensured that the voices of diverse stakeholders were heard. This helped our agency understand community needs and perspectives, leading to a more informed and effective proposal. By prioritizing transparency. By demonstrating transparency in rulemaking, we built trust between the agency and the public. When people can see how decisions are made and have access to the rationale behind rules, they were more likely to support and contribute to our proposals. By establishing accountability, a transparent rulemaking process held us accountable for our actions. It allows the public to scrutinize proposed rules, ensuring that we act in the best interest of the community and the State Parks Division. By improving our decision-making, engaging the public and the stakeholders led to better policy outcomes. Diverse input identified potential issues, suggested innovative solutions, and enhanced the overall quality of our proposals. By delivering education and awareness, the rulemaking process served as educational opportunities for the public and our division staff by helping them better understand the issues at stake and the implications of our proposals. By recruiting compliance and support. When the public is involved in the creation of rules, they are more likely to understand and accept them. This will lead to higher rates of compliance and cooperation after new rule implementation. By exhibiting adaptability, engaging the public allowed us to remain responsive to the changing needs and concerns of our public. It provided a mechanism for honest ongoing dialogue and adaptation of rules based on community feedback. By ensuring equity and inclusion, ensuring diverse participation in rulemaking helped address potential disparities and ensure that proposals consider the needs of residents and non-residents, as well as partnering agencies, specific interest and user groups, marginalized groups, and our agency staff. In closing, fully engaging the public and being transparent with our rulemaking not only strengthened the stateside process, but also enhanced the effectiveness, fairness, and legitimacy of our actions. As director of the New Mexico State Parks Division, with over 26 years of experience starting in high school, working for this same agency for 26 years, I fully support this proposed rulemaking, and I sincerely thank Bureau Chief Langenegger for his leadership, our division staff, and the public for their dedicated and honest contributions to this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Velasquez. Anyone else like to offer public comment? We also have a chance to offer written public comment before 5 p.m. today. No? Is there anything else, Mr. Wade?
That concludes the State Parks presentation.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Mr. Langenegger, Mr. Wade, Mr. Velasquez, and all the rest of you. Again, the rule will be finalized following the end of the public comment period today at 5 p.m. Look for that in further communications. Thank you all very much.